Have you ever felt like your English is good, really good, but somehow still not quite where you want it to be? Maybe you can understand almost everything, but expressing your ideas with precision, confidence, and nuance still feels just a little out of reach. Or maybe you've hit that strange stage where you know a ton of vocabulary, but you're not always sure how to use those words naturally in real-life conversations. If that sounds familiar, then stay right here, because over the next hour, we're going to break through that plateau together. Today's deep dive is built for advanced learners who want to move from strong English to effortlessly fluent English. We'll explore realistic conversations, everyday expressions that native speakers actually rely on. Natural phrasing, subtle grammar choices, richer vocabulary, cultural understanding, and practical thinking strategies that make your English sound clearer, smoother, and more instinctive. This is the kind of episode you listen to when you're serious about polishing your English until it finally feels natural, not forced. And here's the best part. Everything you'll hear today is based on real situations, real communication patterns, and real language used around the world, not textbook cliches. Thanks so much for choosing to learn with English in Motion today. I'm really glad you're here. If you enjoy this kind of advanced listening practice, make sure to like the video and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow and brings more high-quality lessons your way. All right, let's dive straight in. At the C1 level, you're no longer struggling with the basics. You can communicate, you can follow conversations, you can participate in discussions. The real challenge now is refinement, sounding natural, flexible, and adaptable. And that all starts with how you think in English, not just the words you use. So let's begin with something that advanced learners often overlook: real-time reaction language. These are the small, subtle expressions that native speakers use constantly to navigate conversations. Expressions that help you sound engaged, thoughtful, and confident. Think about phrases like, "I see what you mean. That's an interesting angle. I hadn't considered it that way before. Let me think that through. I'm not entirely sure yet, but here's what I'm leaning toward." These small phrases are incredibly powerful at the advanced level because they show your ability to respond naturally, not mechanically. They buy you time to think. They show emotional intelligence, and they make your speech feel steady and mature. Let's look at a quick example. Imagine you're discussing a complicated issue at work. Maybe your team is debating whether to change the direction of a project. Someone shares a surprising opinion, and your mind needs a moment to process it. A native speaker wouldn't jump straight into silence or panic. They'd use a softening phrase like, that's a fair point. Let me walk through it for a second." Or, "I hear where you're coming from, but I see a couple of potential concerns." These kinds of statements help guide conversations gently. They help you sound thoughtful instead of abrupt. And the way you handle these moments is what truly separates C1 from C2. Segment 2, natural complexity, advanced but not artificial. A common mistake advanced learners make is using overly complicated vocabulary just to sound advanced. But natural English isn't about using the longest or most academic word. It's about choosing the word that fits the situation. For example, instead of saying, "This issue is exceedingly intricate," a native speaker might simply say, this is pretty complicated. Instead of, I will attempt to rectify the situation, we naturally say, I'll try to fix it. Using natural English doesn't make you less advanced. In fact, mastering when to simplify and when to elevate your language is a hallmark of a high-level speaker. Here's a helpful rule. Advanced English is clear English, and clarity often comes from knowing when to stay simple and when to add nuance. For example, if you're explaining a technical process, small details matter. But if you're describing daily life or expressing personal feelings, simpler language often feels more honest. The real skill is adjusting your tone depending on the context. That's what we'll practice throughout this episode. Segment 3. Real-life scenario navigating complex decisions. Let's explore our first realistic conversation. Something that adults face all the time. Deciding whether to accept a new job offer. Listen to how natural advanced English sounds in this kind of scenario. Person A. I got the offer this morning and honestly, I'm torn. The position sounds exciting, but the workload seems pretty intense. Person B. Yeah, I get that. What's holding you back the most? The schedule or the responsibilities? Person A. Probably the schedule. I want to avoid burning out again, but the company's values really resonate with me. Person B. Right. So it's one of those trade-offs. Have you tried listing out the pros and cons just to get everything out of your head? Person A. I did, and the funny thing is, both lists are almost the same length. Person B. In that case, maybe think about which option brings you closer to the life you want long-term. The short-term stress might be temporary, but your growth could be huge. Now, notice the phrasing here. I'm torn. What's holding you back the most? It's one of those trade-offs. Get everything out of your head. Short-term stress might be temporary. These aren't academic phrases. They're authentic expressions people use daily. This is the type of language that makes you sound fluent at a deeper, more human level. Segment 4. Thinking on your feet. One of the most valuable C1 skills is the ability to respond under pressure, when you don't have time to prepare or rehearse your words. Let's practice this mindset. Imagine you're suddenly asked a difficult question in a meeting. What's your opinion on the new proposal? You're unsure. Your brain needs a second. Here are natural ways to respond. Good question. Let me think out loud for a second. My first reaction is positive, but I'd like to look at the details. Off the top of my head, I think it could work, but I'd need more information. These expressions show confidence, honesty, and clarity. They turn hesitation into professionalism. And mastering this type of language is crucial for C1 listeners who want to operate smoothly in English-speaking environments. Segment 5. Advanced vocabulary through real context, not lists. One of the biggest breakthroughs at the C1 level is understanding vocabulary not as individual words, but as clusters of meaning, groups of expressions connected by context. Learning vocabulary this way helps you speak more naturally and recall language more quickly. Let's explore a practical theme. Decision-making and problem-solving, since adults use this language constantly in work, relationships, and daily life. Here are some natural expressions that come up all the time. Weigh your options. Second-guess yourself. Look at the bigger picture. Trust your gut. Take something into account. lean toward something, have mixed feelings, play it safe, take a chance. These aren't fancy words, they're real expressions used in daily discussions. Now let's see them in action in a realistic situation. Scenario: a friend is unsure about moving to another city. Person A: I've been going back and forth on this all week. I can't decide whether to accept the transfer. Person B: What's making you second-guess yourself? Person A: Well, part of me wants to play it safe and stay here, but another part of me feels like I should take the chance. Person B: Right, I'd look at the bigger picture. 5 years from now, which choice would you be happier about? Person A: That's the thing. I'm leaning toward moving, but I still have mixed feelings. Look at how all the vocabulary blends smoothly into the conversation. That's what natural C1 English sounds like. Not stiff, not overcomplicated, just realistic and expressive. Segment 6: Fluency through shadowing and natural speech rhythm. Many learners think fluency means speaking fast, but real fluency is about rhythm, clarity, and connected speech. Native speakers don't always speak fast. They speak in a flow. Listen to this natural rhythm. I mean, if you think about it, most of our daily decisions aren't actually about right or wrong. They're more about what fits our priorities at that moment. Notice how it blends. I mean, if you think about it, most of our daily decisions aren't actually about what fits our priorities. No one speaks word by word. English flows in small chunks. Here's another example of natural rhythm. It kind of depends on what you're hoping to get out of the experience. Try saying it out loud. The words connect. It kind of depends on what you're hoping to get out of the experience. This is the type of speech pattern shadowing helps you master. If you were shadowing right now, you'd repeat along with me. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Let me think this through. Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm not convinced yet, but I'm open to it. These are the natural spoken bridges that create smooth, confident fluency. Segment 7: Subtle grammar that makes a big difference at the C1 level. Grammar isn't about rule memorization anymore. It's about using subtle structures that help you sound more precise and thoughtful. Let's explore 3 subtle structures that advanced speakers rely on constantly. 1. Softening language, avoiding sounding too direct. This is huge in English because sounding too blunt can feel rude. Compare direct: I don't like your idea. Natural. C1: I'm not sure this approach works for what we need. Or, I see the intention behind it, but I have a few concerns. Softening is not weakness, it's emotional intelligence. 2. Hedging, expressing uncertainty politely. Hedging phrases include, it seems like, it might be worth considering. There's a chance that, I'm not entirely sure, but from what I can tell, they allow you to express complex or delicate ideas without sounding forceful. 3. Mixed conditionals. These help you talk about imaginary situations that connect past and present. Example: if I had taken that job, I'd be living in Spain right now. Or, if I were more patient, I wouldn't have reacted the way I did yesterday. Notice how these structures allow richer, more emotional storytelling. Segment 8: Real conversation, navigating a personal dilemma. Let's move into another realistic conversation, something that happens in everyday adult life, deciding whether to confront a friend about a problem. Person A: I've been debating whether I should say something to Daniel. He's been really distant lately, and I'm not sure if I should bring it up. Person B, yeah, that's tricky. If you were in his position, would you want someone to check in? Person A, honestly, yeah, but I don't want to come across as pushy. Person B, you don't have to be direct. You could just say, hey, is everything okay? I've noticed you seem a bit off. Something gentle like that. Person A, that's true. I guess I'm overthinking it. Person B, we all do. But if it's bothering you, it might be worth bringing up. You never know what someone's going through. This is advanced English at its most natural. I've been debating whether that's tricky, come across as pushy. You seem a bit off. It might be worth bringing up. None of these are academic, but all are deeply native-like. Segment 9, Cultural Nuance, Understanding the Unsaid. At the C1 level, understanding English isn't just about listening to words. It's about noticing what's not said. For example, when someone says, I'm not sure I can commit to that. Depending on the tone, they might mean, I don't want to do this, or I'm overwhelmed, or I need more information, or please ask someone else. Tone, pace, emphasis, these give the real meaning. Another example, that's interesting. This can mean, I don't agree. I'm confused. That's unusual. I don't know what to make of this. Or genuinely, I'm curious. This is the type of awareness that moves you closer to native-like communication. At the C1 level, one of the biggest skills you need is the ability to hear subtext, the meaning behind the literal words. English speakers often avoid being too direct, so the real message is hidden in tone, pauses, or the choice of a softer phrase. Let's look at a few examples. If someone says, I mean, if that's what you really want, what they might actually mean is, I don't think this is a good idea. I'm concerned, but I don't want to argue. Are you sure you've thought this through? Or if someone says, no worries if not. This can mean, I hope you can do it, but I won't pressure you. I'm being polite, but I'd appreciate it if you said yes. I want to ask, but I don't want to seem demanding. These subtleties are everywhere in English. Once you start recognizing them, everything becomes clearer. Emails, meetings, friendships, relationships, work communication. Subtext is the invisible layer of fluent English. Here's another example. We should catch up sometime. Depending on how it's said, it could mean, let's actually meet soon. I'm just being polite. I don't have time right now, but I want to stay friendly. I'm avoiding committing to a specific plan. Being able to read these signals makes your communication more accurate, more empathetic, and more natural. Segment 11, Mastering Nuance, Polite Disagreement. A truly advanced speaker knows how to disagree without sounding confrontational. This is a major part of real English communication, especially in workplaces, academic settings, and multicultural environments. Here are natural ways to express disagreement politely. I see where you're coming from, but I'm not fully convinced. That's an interesting take, though I see it a bit differently. I get the logic behind that, but here's another angle. I might be wrong, but I interpreted it another way. I respect that perspective, but I'd prefer. These expressions do several things at once. They show respect. They soften your message. They keep the conversation collaborative. They avoid making the other person feel attacked. Now look at this realistic disagreement. Person A. I think we should launch the project earlier. Waiting any longer feels like a waste of momentum. Person B. I see what you mean, and you're right about the momentum, but I'm a bit hesitant about rushing the testing phase. Person A. Fair point. I guess I'm just worried we'll lose the window. Person B. Totally understandable. Maybe we can compromise. Launch the teaser now and release the full version next month. Notice the natural flow. I see what you mean. I'm a bit hesitant. Fair point. Totally understandable. Maybe we can compromise. This is high-level English in real life. Segment 12. Building a natural C1 mindset. Advanced learners sometimes forget that speaking naturally is more about thinking naturally than memorizing words. So let's explore 3 mindset shifts that transform your English. 1. Stop aiming for perfection. Aim for clarity. Perfect grammar doesn't guarantee good communication, but clear, structured speech does. When a native speaker is unsure, they say, "Let me break it down." Here's the main idea. What I'm trying to say is, this mindset helps you stay calm and logical while speaking. 2. Embrace flexibility. C1 level English requires adapting your tone. Formal at work, casual with friends, neutral in mixed environments, warm and empathetic in personal conversations. Think of English as a set of tools. You choose the right one depending on the situation. 3. Focus on intention, not memorization. This is key. Ask yourself, what do I want to communicate right now? Do you want to reassure someone, express doubt, show empathy, add emphasis, soften what you say, sound confident, negotiate politely? Once you know your intention, your language choices become natural. Segment 13. Practical scenario. Small talk that actually matters. Small talk may feel superficial, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools in English communication. Native speakers use it to bond, to check the mood, and to create emotional comfort. Here's an example of natural, meaningful small talk. Person A. Hey, you look a bit tired today. Long night. Person B. Yeah, sort of. Couldn't fall asleep for some reason. My mind was everywhere. Person A. I get that. Mine does the same thing sometimes. Anything in particular stressing you out? Person B. Just juggling too much at the moment. Person A. Yeah, that's rough. Let me know if you want to talk through anything. This is not just weather conversation. This is connection. Authentic human small talk. What real adults use every day. And notice how simple the language is. Long night? My mind was everywhere. Anything stressing you out? That's rough. Talk through anything. Natural, relatable, and emotionally intelligent. Segment 14. Listening for emotion, not just language. At this level, you should also train your ear to catch emotional signals. Tone, pace, pauses, breathing word choice. For example, if someone says, "It's fine," the meaning depends entirely on tone. Calm tone. "It really is fine." Sharp tone. "It's not fine, but I don't want to argue." Tired tone. "I've given up caring about this." Soft tone. "I'm disappointed, but I accept it." That's why advanced listening practice is not just about understanding words, it's about understanding people. Segment 15. Advanced Story, a real-world C1 level conversation. Stories are one of the best ways to absorb natural English, so here's a realistic scenario that many adults can relate to. Balancing personal goals with family expectations. Imagine this conversation between 2 colleagues during a lunch break. Person A. My parents want me to move back home for a while. They think it's the safest option, but honestly, it feels like a step backward. Person B, yeah, I get that. It's tough when their intentions are good, but it doesn't line up with what you want right now. Person A, exactly. I know they mean well, but I've finally built some independence here, and I don't want to lose that momentum. Person B, so what's your plan? Are you leaning towards staying? Person A, I think so, but I don't want to disappoint them. Every time we talk about it, I feel guilty. Person B, totally understandable, but you're the one living your life. Maybe you could explain your reasoning without making it sound like you're rejecting their help. Person A, yeah, something like, I appreciate your concern, but I need to keep building my own path right now. Person B, exactly, honest but not harsh. This conversation is natural English at a mature, emotional level, full of nuance. They mean well. I don't want to lose that momentum. I feel guilty. You're the one living your life. Honest, but not harsh. These are the kinds of phrases adults use every day when discussing sensitive topics. Segment 16, Emotional Vocabulary for Real-Life Situations. Advanced English requires the ability to talk about emotions accurately and naturally. Instead of saying, I'm sad, I'm stressed, or I'm happy, here are more nuanced alternatives people use. I'm a bit overwhelmed lately. I'm not at my best right now. I feel stuck. I'm genuinely excited about this. I'm relieved, to be honest. I'm frustrated, but I'll figure it out. I feel disconnected. I'm in a better place now. Let's put some of these into context. Person A, hey, how have you been? You seem a little off today. Person B, yeah, I'm just overwhelmed. Too many things piling up at once. Person A, anything you want to talk about? Person B, not sure yet. I'm just trying to get my head straight. Natural emotional communication, simple words, strong meaning. Segment 17, Cultural Awareness, How English Speakers Show Support. Understanding culture is a massive part of advanced listening. English speakers from countries like the US, Canada, the UK, Australia often express support indirectly, using gentle, encouraging language instead of giving direct solutions. Expressions like, I'm here if you need anything. Let me know how I can help. Take your time. No pressure at all. I totally get why you'd feel that way. That sounds incredibly tough. You handled that well. These phrases don't force advice. They create emotional space. Here's a small example. Person A, my presentation didn't go as planned. I kind of froze halfway through. Person B, that sounds rough, but honestly, you handled it better than you think. Anyone would have been thrown off in that situation. This combination, acknowledging the problem plus reassuring the person, is very natural in English-speaking cultures. Segment 18, Advanced Grammar Through Real Examples. Let's explore grammar the natural way, through context. 1. Inversion for emphasis. Used when you want to emphasize a strong opinion or surprising situation. Never have I felt that overwhelmed during a meeting. Rarely do we get a chance like this. Only after talking to him did I understand the whole situation. 2. Indirect questions. Sound more polite and less forceful. Instead of, why are you upset? Try, could I ask what's been bothering you? Or, do you mind sharing what's going on? 3. Non-defining relative clauses. Add detail smoothly without interrupting the flow. My coworker Sarah, who's usually so calm, completely panicked yesterday. The restaurant which we tried last month just closed down. These structures appear constantly in educated, fluent English. Segment 19, Real-World Dialogue, Complex Workplace Situation. Let's observe a conversation about a workplace challenge, something every professional encounters, unclear expectations. Person A, I'm confused about what the manager actually wants. The instructions were all over the place. Person B, same. I tried asking for clarity, but the answer was still vague. Person A, yeah, I don't want to mess this up. If I had known the priorities earlier, I wouldn't be scrambling now. Person B, I get that. Maybe we should email her a quick summary of what we understood, just to make sure we're aligned. Person A, that's a good idea. Something like, just to confirm, here's what we're planning to do. Person B, exactly. Clear and simple. This dialogue includes all over the place. Asking for clarity. I wouldn't be scrambling now. Just to confirm, make sure we're aligned. These are extremely common in professional English. Segment 20. Mental frameworks for speaking confidently to reach effortless fluency. You need more than vocabulary. You need mental frameworks that help you communicate calmly and effectively. Framework 1. The pause, think, speak method. Native speakers pause all the time. Silence is not a mistake. It's clarity. Instead of panicking, try, let me think for a moment. Let me process that. Give me a second to consider it. You sound confident, not unsure. Framework 2. The what I mean is. Strategy when you get stuck. Clarify, what I mean is. The main point I'm trying to make is. This resets your thought process. Framework 3. The emotion plus reason. Formula powerful in real communication. I'm excited because. I'm worried because. I'm unsure because. This makes your speech more human and relatable. Segment 21. Advanced listening practice. Interpreting tone. Here are 3 lines spoken with different tones. Notice how the meaning changes. Phrase. I'll think about it. Tone 1. Calm, neutral. I'll think about it, meaning maybe. Tone 2. Slightly annoyed. I'll think about it, meaning probably not. Tone 3. Warm and sincere. I'll think about it, meaning I genuinely need time to decide. Tone transforms meaning. Understanding this is true. C1 Mastery. Segment 22. Complex adult topics. Navigating life transitions at the C1 level. You should be comfortable discussing deeper, more complex ideas. Things adults genuinely talk about. Career changes, life transitions, long-term goals, fears, regrets, pressure, expectations. Here's a natural conversation about someone considering a major career shift. Person A. I've been thinking about switching careers, but the idea honestly terrifies me. I've been in the same field for almost a decade. Person B. Yeah, that's a huge decision. What's pushing you toward making the change? Person A. I feel stuck. I've hit a point where the work doesn't challenge me anymore, and I'm starting to feel disconnected from what I'm doing. Person B. That makes sense. It's tough to stay motivated when the job doesn't excite you anymore. Person A. Exactly, but the uncertainty freaks me out. What if I make the switch and regret it? Person B. Well, that's a real possibility, but staying in a job that drains you isn't exactly risk-free either. This is grown-up English conversation at its most natural. Honest, reflective, emotional, uncertain. Expressions like, I feel stuck. I've hit a point where I'm starting to feel disconnected. The uncertainty freaks me out. It's not risk-free either. These are powerful, everyday phrases used by fluent speakers in real situations. Segment 23, High-Level Listening Identifying Uncertainty. English speakers rarely say, "I don't know" directly. Instead, they use soft, subtle expressions. Here are some common phrases that show uncertainty. I'm not entirely sure yet. I haven't decided. I'm going back and forth on it. I'm trying to get a clearer picture. It's still up in the air. I need more information. Part of me thinks yes, but part of me isn't convinced. Let's put this into a realistic exchange. Person A. So are you taking the job or not? Person B. It's still up in the air. I'm weighing a few things. Person A. What's the main thing holding you back? Person B. Honestly, I don't know if the timing is right. I'm not entirely sure I'm ready to take on that much responsibility. You can hear the uncertainty, not stated directly, but woven into the phrasing. This is exactly the kind of nuance you need to master at the C1 level. Segment 24, How Advanced Speakers Organize Their Thoughts. At this level, clear communication is more important than complex vocabulary. So here are natural ways to structure your thoughts while speaking. 1. First of all, shows you're beginning a structured idea. 2. What I'm trying to say is useful when clarifying or rephrasing. 3. Another thing to keep in mind is adds information smoothly. 4. At the end of the day, summarizes your final point. Let's combine them. First of all, I totally understand the pressure you're feeling. What I'm trying to say is you don't have to rush. Another thing to keep in mind is that opportunities come and go, but your well-being matters more. At the end of the day, choose what makes sense for your long-term happiness. This is polished, natural, advanced speech. Something you'd hear from a thoughtful professional. Segment 25, Advanced Vocabulary for Complex Topics. Here are natural, sophisticated words that native speakers use constantly in adult conversations. Resilience, the ability to bounce back boundaries, limits you set for your well-being. Balance, healthy distribution of time and energy. Fulfillment, deep sense of satisfaction, burnout, emotional plus mental exhaustion priorities, what matters most. Insight, deep understanding, perspective, the way you see something. Commitment, dedication to something or someone. Uncertainty, not knowing what will happen. These words appear all the time at the C1 and C2 levels, especially in discussions about life, goals, health, relationships, and work. Segment 26, Real Dialogue, Setting Personal Boundaries. Boundaries are a big part of modern adult communication, and English speakers talk about them often. Here's a very natural example. Person A. I'm exhausted. People keep asking for help, and I don't know how to say no without feeling guilty. Person B. I've been there. It's hard, but you need boundaries. What are you comfortable with? Person A. I don't mind helping, but I don't want to feel obligated all the time. Person B. Then say something like, I'd love to help, but I'm at capacity right now. It's honest, but still polite. Person A. Yeah, I need to practice saying things like that. This incorporates advanced emotional language. I'm at capacity right now. I don't want to feel obligated. It's honest, but polite. This is authentic, modern English. Segment 27, Advanced Reading Skill, Summarizing Complex Ideas. A major part of C1 listening is learning how to summarize big ideas in a simple way. Native speakers do this constantly, in meetings and explanations, in arguments and storytelling and problem solving. Here are natural phrases for summarizing, so basically, in other words, the main idea is, long story short, to put it simply, for example. So basically, the issue isn't the workload, it's the lack of clarity around expectations. Another, in other words, you're feeling unappreciated, not overwhelmed. Summarizing helps you show strong comprehension, and it's a clear indicator of C1 mastery. 28. Deeper topic, dealing with personal doubt. Let's move into a deeply realistic conversation topic, self-doubt. Adults face this constantly, especially when making transitions or facing uncertainty. Here's a natural exchange. Person A. Lately, I've been doubting myself more than usual. I keep wondering whether I'm actually good enough. Person B. I think everyone goes through that. What triggered it? Person A. A mix of things. I messed up a project at work, and then I started comparing myself to other people. Person B. That happens, but one mistake doesn't define your ability. You're allowed to have off days. Person A. I know, I just wish I could shake this feeling. Person B. You will. Sometimes you just need to step back to see the full picture. This includes important advanced expressions, more than usual. A mix of things, off days. Shake this feeling. See the full picture. All common, natural, emotionally intelligent English. Segment 29, Advanced Listening Through a Multi-Layered Conversation. At the C1 level, conversations often have multiple layers: the surface message, the emotional message, and the unspoken message. Let's explore a realistic dialogue filled with subtlety. Context. Two co-workers discuss a team project that has been delayed. Person A. Hey, I wanted to check in about the project timeline. I've noticed we're falling behind a little. Person B. Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Things got a bit overwhelming on my end. Person A. I figured something was up. Anything I can help with? Person B. Maybe. I don't want to drop the ball again. I've just been juggling too many things at once. Person A. Totally understand. Why don't we split the tasks again? We can prioritize what needs attention first. Person B. That would help a lot. Thanks for stepping in. Layers in this conversation. Surface layer, they're behind schedule. Emotional layer, person B is stressed and possibly embarrassed. Unspoken layer, person A is offering support without judgment. Pay attention to phrases like, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I figured something was up. Drop the ball. Juggling too many things. Stepping in. These expressions create a natural, supportive tone, something advanced speakers handle well. Segment 30, Natural Connectors for Smooth C1 Level Speech. To sound natural and fluid, advanced speakers use connectors, simple words or phrases that keep the conversation flowing. Here are some commonly used connectors that elevate your speech. To be honest, on top of that said, even so. At the same time, in contrast. On the other hand, for the most part, to some extent. Let's hear them in context. I like working remotely. It gives me freedom. That said, I do miss the face-to-face interaction sometimes. The job is stressful, but at the same time, it's incredibly rewarding. These connectors help frame your thoughts, signal transitions, and make your speech more mature and organized. Segment 31, Dealing with Conflict. C1 English for difficult moments. Conflict is part of adult life, at work, with friends, partners, or family. Advanced English speakers handle conflict not with direct confrontation, but with measured, thoughtful language. Here are some natural conflict management phrases. I want to make sure we're on the same page. I feel like there might have been a misunderstanding. I see your point, but here's where I'm coming from. Let's talk through this calmly. From my perspective, I'd appreciate it if we could revisit this later. Let's try to find a middle ground. Let's place these into a real situation. Person A. I felt blindsided during yesterday's meeting. I didn't know the plan had changed. Person B. Yeah, I should have reached out earlier. I apologize. There was a last-minute update. Person A. I get that. I just want to make sure we're on the same page moving forward. Person B. Absolutely. I'll keep you updated next time. Conflict resolved. Calm, respectful, effective. Segment 32. Advanced vocabulary for personal reflection. C1 speakers often reflect deeply about identity, decisions, emotions. Here are natural, sophisticated words commonly used for self-reflection. Accountability, taking responsibility for actions. Authenticity, being true to yourself. Growth, personal development. Intention, purpose behind actions. Patterns, repeated behaviors, triggers, things that cause emotional reactions. Reflection, thinking deeply. Awareness, understanding yourself. Let's see them naturally. I'm trying to be more aware of my patterns lately. I realized I tend to take on too much because I hate disappointing people. I'm focusing on growth and being more authentic with my decisions. These words help express deeper thoughts in a clear, natural way. Segment 33, A Realistic Conversation About Relationships. Here's an everyday conversation between two friends about navigating expectations in a new relationship. Person A. I really like him, but I'm not sure we're on the same wavelength sometimes. Person B. What makes you think that? Person A. He's great, but he avoids deeper conversations, and I need more clarity about where things are going. Person B. That's fair. Have you tried bringing it up gently? Person A. I did. He said he's taking things slow because he doesn't want to rush another commitment. Person B. Well, that's understandable. Everyone moves at their own pace. You just need to know whether his pace works for you. Expressions to notice. On the same wavelength. Bring it up gently, taking things slow. Everyone moves at their own pace. Whether his pace works for you. All very natural and extremely common in English-speaking cultures. Segment 34, Advanced Listening for Motivation. Sometimes people reveal their motivation indirectly. Listening for intention is a key C1 skill. Here are lines with hidden meanings. I'll think about it. Needs time or isn't ready to commit, let me get back to you. Needs space or more information. I'm not sure that's the best idea. Politely saying no. That's one way to look at it. Disagreement. Do you mind if we talk later? Overwhelmed or emotionally tired. Here's a short example. Person A. Are you coming to the party on Saturday? Person B. I'll see how I'm feeling. Meaning, probably not. Knowing how to interpret these subtle cues makes you a genuinely advanced listener. Segment 35. Expanding ideas. Naturally, native speakers often expand ideas naturally without sounding too formal or too casual. Here are useful expansion starters. To be more specific, what I mean is, let me give you an example. Another thing worth mentioning is, it's also important to point out that this ties into something else I've been thinking about. Example, I've been overwhelmed lately. To be more specific, work has been draining my energy way more than usual. These starters help you explain your thoughts clearly and naturally. Segment 36, Advanced Scenario Dealing with Change. Let's explore a deep, reflective conversation. Person A, I've been struggling with change lately. Everything feels unpredictable. Person B, I get you. Change is uncomfortable even when it's necessary. Person A, exactly. I know it's part of life, but I wish I felt more grounded. Person B, that's normal. Maybe you just need time to adjust. Some transitions hit harder than others. Person A, yeah, I'm trying to keep things in perspective. Here we hear powerful natural phrases. Struggling with change, feels unpredictable, more grounded, need time to adjust, keep things in perspective. These expressions help you sound calm, mature, and fluent. Segment 37, The Language of Adult Responsibility. As you move deeper into C1 level English, you'll notice that adults often talk about responsibility, obligations, and commitments in subtle, emotionally aware ways. Here are expressions native speakers rely on. I'm trying to stay on top of things. I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm doing my best to keep everything balanced. I'm trying to be more intentional with my time. I need to prioritize this. I can't take on anything else at the moment. I'm stretched too thin. Let's put these into a natural dialogue. Person A, how's everything going? You seem a bit overwhelmed. Person B, yeah, I've just got a lot on my plate right now. I'm trying to stay on top of things, but it's been a struggle. Person A, I get that. Anything you can drop or postpone? Person B, I wish, but everything feels urgent. I'm stretched too thin. Person A, that's tough. Maybe prioritize what actually needs your attention and let the rest wait. These expressions sound natural because they're used daily by English speakers to talk about workload, mental capacity, and time management. Segment 38, Advanced Phrases for Professional Communication. At the C1 level, you need to handle professional communication with confidence. Here are expressions professionals use constantly, clarifying, just to make sure I understand. So what you're saying is, do you mean that? Politely pushing back. I see your point, but I have a slightly different take. I'm not entirely convinced yet. Could we revisit this? Showing initiative. I can take the lead on that. I'll look into it and keep you posted. Let me gather more information. Managing expectations. I might need a bit more time. This could take longer than expected. I'll do my best to get it done by tomorrow. Now here's a natural workplace interaction. Person A, do you think you can finish the report today? Person B, I'll do my best, but it might take longer than expected. Just to make sure I understand, you want the updated data included too, right? Person A, yes, please. Person B, got it. I'll work on it now and keep you posted. Clear, responsible, and professional. This is mature English communication at its best. Segment 39, Advanced Emotional Intelligence Through Language. Emotional intelligence is a huge part of fluent communication, especially at the C1 level. Here are natural phrases that show empathy without sounding forced. That sounds incredibly frustrating. I can imagine that wasn't easy. You handled that really well. I'd feel the same way if I were in your position. Thanks for sharing that with me. It makes sense that you feel that way. Let's see these in a real-life moment. Person A. I really messed up in today's presentation. My mind just went blank. Person B. That sounds incredibly stressful. I can imagine that wasn't easy. But honestly, you handled it better than you think. Everyone freezes sometimes. This is advanced emotional communication, not overly dramatic, not robotic. Segment 40. Common advanced expressions used by native speakers. Here are everyday expressions native speakers use without thinking. Perfect for C1 fluency. For what it's worth. To be fair. As far as I can tell, at this point, if anything, it wouldn't hurt to. Come to think of it, now that you mention it, I've been meaning to. Before I forget. Example in conversation. Person A. I'm wondering whether I should take a short break from work. Person B. For what it's worth, I think it wouldn't hurt to take a few days off. You've been pushing yourself really hard lately. Smooth, natural, helpful expressions that native speakers use constantly. Segment 41. Advanced scenario dealing with uncertain future plans. Let's look at a realistic conversation about uncertainty. Something nearly every adult faces. Person A. I'm not sure what the next year is going to look like for me. Everything feels unpredictable. Person B. I hear you. A lot of people are feeling that way right now. Person A. I used to have everything planned out. Now it feels like I'm just trying to stay afloat. Person B. That's completely understandable. Maybe instead of planning the whole year, you could focus on short-term goals. Person A. Yeah, that actually sounds more manageable. Key expressions here. Trying to stay afloat. Feels unpredictable. Focus on short-term goals. More manageable. I hear you. Meaning I understand. These reflect real English used in uncertain times. Segment 42. Language for expressing personal values. Advanced English also involves talking about beliefs and values. Here are natural phrases. It's important to me that I value, I'm not willing to compromise on, I prioritize, I try to stay true to, I believe in. Example, it's important to me that I have a good work-life balance. I'm not willing to compromise on my mental health. This is clear, honest, and emotionally mature. Segment 43. Advanced listening, understanding how people speak. Sometimes it's not what someone says, but how they say it. Consider the sentence, I'm fine. Tone can mean truly fine, hiding frustration, feeling overwhelmed, not wanting to discuss it, asking for help indirectly. At the C1 level, your goal is to pick up on changes in pitch pauses, hesitation, softer delivery, sarcasm, tension in the voice. This helps you understand real emotions, not just words. Steny. 44. Advanced story. Moving to a new city. Here's a narrative designed to build your comprehension of natural, descriptive English. When I first moved to the city, I felt completely out of place. Everything moved faster than I expected. People seemed busy all the time, rushing from one thing to the next. But after a few weeks, I started finding little pockets of familiarity. My favorite cafe, a quiet park bench, a grocery store where the cashier always smiled. Those tiny moments made the transition easier. They reminded me that even in a city full of strangers, you can still build a life that feels like your own. Notice the natural descriptive phrasing, completely out of place, little pockets of familiarity, made the transition easier. Build a life that feels like your own. This is storytelling at a natural C1 level, emotional, reflective, relatable. At the C1 level, one of the most important skills you develop is the ability to talk about ideas, not just events. This means expressing thoughts about life, growth, society, identity, purpose, and the future. Here are natural, high-level expressions for deep reflection. I've been reflecting on. I've realized that. It made me question. It opened my eyes to. It shifted my perspective. It pushed me to rethink my priorities. I've become more aware of. It put things into perspective. Here's an example of deep, natural reflection. I've been reflecting on my routines lately. I realize that I've been running on autopilot, doing things without questioning whether they still serve me. It pushed me to rethink my priorities and focus on habits that actually support the person I want to become. This is the kind of language you hear in TED Talks, podcasts, coaching sessions, and thoughtful conversations among adults. Segment 46. Complex Scenario, Work-Life Balance. Work-life balance is a major theme in advanced conversations. Here's a natural exchange. Person A. I've been feeling burnt out lately. I'm working constantly, but it doesn't feel sustainable. Person B. That's tough. Have you been getting any downtime at all? Person A. Not really. Every time I try to relax, I'm reminded of something else I need to finish. Person B. Yeah, that's a sign you need to set better boundaries. If you're always on, you're going to crash eventually. Person A. I know, I just don't want to fall behind. Person B. Taking care of yourself isn't falling behind, it's resetting. Important takeaway phrases. It doesn't feel sustainable. Getting downtime. You're always on. You're going to crash eventually. Taking care of yourself isn't falling behind. Very natural, very common. Segment 47, Advanced Vocabulary, Internal States. We're now entering vocabulary that expresses your inner world, your thoughts, motivations, fears, habits, and identity. This is what elevates you from C1 to truly fluent. Useful words, clarity, understanding something clearly. Overwhelm, emotional overload, alignment, when actions match your values, resistance, mental pushback, breakthrough, sudden progress. Underlying, hidden but important narrative, the story you tell yourself. Patterns, repeating behaviors, momentum, forward movement, introspection, deep self-reflection. Here's an example. I realized the stress I was feeling wasn't just about work. The underlying issue was that my routine wasn't in alignment with my personal values. Once I understood that, everything became clearer. This is real English used by coaches, therapists, leaders, podcasters, and mature speakers. Segment 48. Real dialogue, navigating uncertain feelings. Let's explore a conversation in which someone is unsure about their personal direction. Person A. I can't tell if I'm genuinely unhappy or just exhausted. Everything feels heavy lately. Person B. That's a tough place to be. Do you think it's the situation or just your energy levels? Person A. Maybe both. I've lost momentum and I don't feel like myself. Person B. Sometimes exhaustion makes everything look worse than it is. Maybe you just need time to reset. Person A. Yeah, that might be true. I haven't slowed down in months. Heartfelt phrases. Everything feels heavy. I don't feel like myself. Lost momentum. Time to reset. Haven't slowed down in months. These reflect mature emotional communication. Segment 49. Advanced listening handling vague answers. English speakers often avoid direct statements. Instead, they give soft answers that hint at how they truly feel. Here are common vague responses and their hidden meaning. 1. We'll see. Meaning, I'm unsure, probably leaning toward no. 2. It's not ideal. Meaning, I'm unhappy but trying to stay polite. 3. It could be better. Meaning, I'm disappointed or frustrated. 4. I'll try. Meaning, I might not do it, but I don't want to say no. 5. It's manageable. Meaning, I'm stressed but coping. 6. That's one way to look at it. Meaning, I disagree politely. Let's put this into context. Person A. How's the new schedule working out for you? Person B. It's manageable, meaning they don't like it. Understanding the real meaning behind vague answers is a key advanced listening skill. Segment 50. The language of modern relationships. C1 Reality. Modern relationships are more flexible and complex than ever, and so is the language we use to talk about them. Here are expressions naturally used in English. We're taking things slow. We're still figuring things out. It's complicated. We're not labeling it yet. We're on the same page emotionally. We're in different places right now. We want different things long term. Example conversation. Person A. So, how are things going with you two? Person B. Good, I think. We're taking things slow. We haven't labeled anything yet, but emotionally we're on the same page. Person A. That makes sense. No need to rush into something you're still figuring out. This reflects natural modern relationship language. Segment 51. Advanced topic. Navigating mixed signals. A common modern issue, mixed signals. Here's a natural C1 level discussion. Person A. I can't tell what she wants. One day she's super responsive, the next she's distant. Person B. That sounds confusing. Have you talked to her about it? Person A. Not yet. I don't want to come across as needy. Person B. There's nothing wrong with asking for clarity. You deserve to know where things stand. Person A. Yeah, maybe I should just be straightforward. Expressions of note. Super responsive. Come across as needy. Asking for clarity. Where things stand. Be straightforward. These phrases are common in real, emotionally mature conversations. Segment 52. Advanced scenario starting over. Here's a reflective passage designed for advanced listening. Starting over at any stage of life feels uncomfortable. Whether you're moving to a new city, changing careers, or ending a relationship, there's a period where nothing feels familiar. But that discomfort often signals growth. It means you're stepping into something that requires a stronger version of yourself. And with time, what once felt overwhelming becomes your new normal. Beautiful, natural, reflective English with phrases like period where nothing feels familiar, signals growth, stepping into something, your new normal. This is authentic modern English you'll hear in podcasts, blogs, and conversations. Segment 53. Advanced communication. Asking for support, naturally asking for help, often feels difficult. But English offers soft, natural ways to express it. Do you have a minute? Could I get your perspective on something? Mind if I run something by you? I'd appreciate your input. I could use some advice. Example, Person A. Mind if I run something by you? I'm debating whether to accept this opportunity. Person B, sure, go ahead. What's on your mind? This sounds respectful, mature, and very natural. Segment 54, Advanced Reflection, Dealing with Pressure. Pressure is something every adult deals with, and being able to talk about it naturally is a key part of C1 communication. Here's a realistic conversation. Person A, I've been under a lot of pressure lately. Everyone expects me to have everything figured out, and I'm barely keeping it together. Person B, I totally understand. That's a heavy load to carry. What's been the hardest part for you? Person A, probably the pressure I put on myself. No one says anything, but I feel like I have to meet everyone's expectations. Person B, that's tough. Sometimes we're our own biggest critics. Expressions to notice, keeping it together. A heavy load to carry. Pressure I put on myself. Biggest critics. These phrases appear constantly in modern English conversations about stress, expectations, and emotional weight. Segment 55, The Language of Letting Go. At this level, you want to express things like acceptance, surrender, and emotional release in a mature, natural way. Useful phrases. I'm learning to let go of things I can't control. I'm trying to accept the situation for what it is. I'm choosing not to hold on to it anymore. I've realized I can't fix everything. I'm giving myself permission to move on. It's time to release that pressure. Here's a natural reflection. I'm learning to let go of expectations that aren't realistic. For the longest time, I thought I had to do everything perfectly. Now I'm trying to accept that progress matters more than perfection. Soft, grounded, thoughtful. This is C1 level emotional clarity. Segment 56, Advanced Listening, Identifying Hesitation. People rarely express their thoughts in perfect linear sentences. They hesitate, pause, self-correct, and soften their tone. Here are signs of hesitation you should learn to recognize. Soft fillers, well, I mean. Pauses before giving an opinion. Starting a sentence, then restarting, softening expressions like kind of, sort of, a bit, not exactly, breaking sentences into fragments. Example, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. It's kind of complicated. Part of me thinks it could work, but another part of me isn't convinced. Understanding these signals helps you listen at an advanced level. Segment 57, Language for Making Peace with Difficult Moments. Sometimes we need to talk about acceptance, closure, or healing. Here are natural expressions. It is what it is. I've made peace with it. I'm trying to trust the timing. I'm taking it one day at a time. I've reached a point where I'm ready to move forward. Some things take time. A natural reflective passage. I've reached a point where I'm not trying to force anything anymore. I'm taking things one day at a time and trusting that what's meant for me won't pass me by. This kind of language is common in conversations about healing, growth, and acceptance. Segment 58, Real Scenario, Dealing with a Friend Disagreement. Friendships sometimes experience conflict. Here's a natural, mature conversation. Person A, I didn't expect you to cancel last minute. I know things come up, but I wish you had told me earlier. Person B, you're right, I should have messaged you sooner. I didn't handle that well. Person A, I appreciate you saying that, it just threw off my plans. Person B, I get it, I'll be more mindful next time. Useful phrases, last minute. Things come up. I didn't handle that well. It threw off my plans. Be more mindful next time. This is exactly how native speakers handle minor conflict politely and honestly. Segment 59, Advanced Persuasion and Soft Influence. Advanced speakers know how to persuade without sounding pushy. Here are natural, soft influence phrases. Have you considered? One thing that might help is, you might find it useful to, what if you tried? Something worth thinking about is, I'm not saying you should, but here's a realistic example. Person A, I feel stuck with my routine. I want to change it, but I never follow through. Person B, one thing that might help is starting small. What if you tried adjusting just one habit at a time? You might find it easier to maintain. This language is helpful, supportive, and mature. Segment 60, Advanced Story, The Fear of Making the Wrong Choice. Here's a reflective piece designed for deep listening. One thing I've learned is that no decision is completely risk-free. Whether you stay where you are or take a leap into something new, there's always uncertainty. For a long time, I was terrified of making the wrong choice. I'd overthink everything until I felt paralyzed. But eventually, I realized something important. Not choosing is also a choice. And sometimes, the only way to know what's right is to try, fail, adjust, and keep moving forward. Key expressions: take a leap, terrified of making the wrong choice, overthink everything, felt paralyzed. Not choosing is also a choice. Keep moving forward. This is natural, insightful, emotional English. Segment 61, Advanced Communication, Expressing Limits with Confidence. English speakers often express limits gently but firmly. Useful phrases: I don't have the capacity for that right now. I wish I could help, but I'm fully booked. I need to set a boundary here. That doesn't work for me. I can't commit to that at the moment. I need to protect my time. Example: Person A, can you take on another project this week? Person B, I'd love to help, but I don't have the capacity for that right now. This sounds confident but not rude. Segment 62, Advanced Listening, Recognizing Relief. People rarely say, I'm relieved. Instead, they express relief indirectly. Thank goodness. That's a weight off my shoulders. I can finally breathe. I feel so much lighter now. I was so worried. That makes things so much easier. Example: Person A, the results came back normal. Person B, oh, thank goodness, I feel so much lighter now. Natural, emotional, and expressive. Segment 63, Advanced Topic. Dealing with change in relationships. Change in relationships, romantic, family, friendships, is one of the most common adult struggles, and the language around it is delicate, emotional, and very natural at the C1 level. Here's a realistic conversation. Person A, I feel like we've grown in different directions. I still care about him, but we're not the same people we were a few years ago. Person B, that happens, people evolve. What exactly feels different? Person A, I'm looking for more stability, and he's still in this phase where everything is spontaneous and unpredictable. Person B, so it's more about lifestyle differences than anything else. Person A, yeah, I'm trying to be honest with myself about whether this still works long term. Expressions to notice: grown in different directions. People evolve. Lifestyle differences. Be honest with myself. Still works long term. These are common in real mature conversations about relationships. Segment 64, Advanced Vocabulary, Navigating Complex Emotions. C1 learners should be able to handle layered emotional topics. Here are natural words and phrases English speakers use. Ambivalence, feeling two things at once. Uncertainty, not sure what will happen. Vulnerability, openness to emotional risk. Detachment, emotional distance. Reassurance, comfort given by someone conflicted, torn between two feelings. Internal struggle, battle within yourself. Emotional clarity, finally understanding your feelings, example in natural speech. I've been feeling really conflicted lately. There's a part of me that wants to stay, but another part that needs more emotional clarity. This is the language of honest, reflective conversation. Segment 65, Real-Life Discussion Navigating Different Expectations. Here's a more nuanced scenario, Person A. We keep having the same argument. I expect one thing, he expects another, and we end up going in circles. Person B. Have you tried talking about your expectations directly? Person A. I have, but sometimes it feels like we're speaking different emotional languages. Person B. That's tough. Misaligned expectations can create so much tension. Expressions to notice: going in circles, different emotional languages, misaligned expectations, create tension. These reflect high-level communication in emotionally complex discussions. Segment 66, Advanced Scenario Dealing with a Personal Setback. Let's explore a realistic moment many adults experience, a setback that shakes your confidence. Last month, I applied for a position I really wanted. I went through every round of interviews and felt like I gave it my all. But in the end, I didn't get the job. For a few days, I felt defeated. I questioned my abilities, my experience, everything. But after sitting with the disappointment, I realized something. I didn't lose anything. I gained clarity. Now I know exactly what skills I need to work on, and I'm more motivated than ever. Key phrases: gave it my all, felt defeated, sitting with the disappointment, gained clarity, more motivated than ever. This is mature, expressive, natural English. Segment 67, Advanced Listening Recognizing Gentle Advice. Sometimes advice is given softly, indirectly. Maybe try? You might find it helpful to. It could be worth considering. Just something to think about. No pressure, but. Example. Person A. I don't know how to start rebuilding my routine. Person B. No pressure, but it could be worth considering a small morning habit. Something easy, just to give your day some structure. This soft tone is very common in English, especially when giving sensitive guidance. Segment 68, Advanced Expression When Life Feels Uncertain. Let's explore expressive, reflective English for uncertain moments. Life doesn't always move in a straight line. Sometimes you take a few steps forward, then one step back. Other times, you pause in the same place for weeks before you finally feel ready to move again. What matters is that you're still moving, still paying attention, still growing in ways that aren't always obvious at first glance. Useful expressions: not always obvious at first glance. Feel ready to move again. Still paying attention. Still growing. Perfect for reflective conversations. Segment 69, Advanced Communication Expressing Gratitude. C1 level gratitude is warm, sincere, and subtle, not exaggerated. Here are natural expressions. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Thanks for being there for me. I don't take that for granted. I genuinely value your support. I'm grateful for you. Example, Person A, thanks for listening. I really needed to get that off my chest. Person B, of course, I'm always here for you, and I'm glad you felt comfortable sharing that. This tone is soft, honest, and mature. Segment 70, Advanced Topic, Accepting Imperfection. Here's a reflective passage. One of the hardest lessons I've learned is that you can't control everything. Not people, not outcomes, not timing. Life is unpredictable, and perfection is impossible. But once you accept that, everything becomes lighter. You stop forcing things. You stop pretending you're fine when you're not. And slowly, you learn to allow life to unfold without trying to manage every detail. Expressions. Accept that. Everything becomes lighter. Stop forcing things. Allow life to unfold. These are common in Real English podcasts, books, and thoughtful conversations. Segment 71, Final Advanced Dialogue, Real Adult Balance. Here's one final natural conversation to strengthen comprehension. Person A, I'm trying to find balance again. My life feels like it's been out of sync lately. Person B, I get that feeling. What do you think threw things off? Person A, a combination of stress, lack of rest, and trying to please everyone. Person B, that'll do it. Maybe it's time to simplify. Focus on what actually matters. Person A, yeah, I think I'm ready to do that. Expressions, out of sync, threw things off. That'll do it. Focus on what actually matters. Segment 72, Closing Reflection, Final Message of the video. As you continue your English journey, remember this. Reaching the C1 level doesn't mean you've finished learning. It means you now have the awareness, the emotional depth, and the communication skills to express yourself more authentically than ever. C1 isn't about speaking perfectly. It's about speaking truthfully, thoughtfully, and confidently. It's about understanding nuance, hearing subtext, and using English to connect with people, not just communicate with them. So keep practicing, keep listening, keep reflecting, and most importantly, keep enjoying the process. Fluency grows in the small moments you show up for yourself. Thank you so much for spending this time with English in Motion. If this episode helped you, feel free to like the video and subscribe for more advanced English practice. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you again in the next session. Take care and keep moving forward.